Hi, I'm Bran. I am the founder of Tokki Soju.
Soju has like kind of a really sad past that I like to romanticize, where Mongolia brought distillation into Korea. Japanese occupation came in, and like all Korean style alcohol like makgeolli, cheongju, soju was kind of pushed underground. And there was a movement in Korea where the Japanese made it illegal to make Korean alcohol because they know they had so much pride in it that they thought the easiest way to turn them into Japanese citizens would be to make them drink solely sake and soju and eliminate sojus and all the other varietals. So when Japan was pushed out, it came back, but it was no longer made from rice. All the rice crop had to go feed the soldiers. So they started making out of different things like sweet potatoes, sorghum, tapioca. And then because there were so many soldiers to occupy them, soju, which was once like 80 proof or 40% alcohol, was diluted in half to like 20% alcohol, just so there was enough rations to kind of go around for the soldiers. In the 90s, it was made legal again to make soju from rice, but it really never made that jump back because rice was a more expensive grain, and they were kind of used to the more inexpensive and lower proof soju. So yeah, since like the 1960s, the green bottle soju, as we know, like Korean soju today, is kind of reigned supreme since then. I love soju culture. It's way different than the West. Like I've lived in many different countries, but I think Korea is probably my favorite as far as drinking cultures because they have what's called an anju culture, where you have to eat when you drink, which I really like, and it forces you to sit down and there's more community. So you know, there's ritualistic elements to where you pour for everyone. You pay respect by, in the old days of soju culture, they used to have robes, and they used to have to pull back the robe to pour. So even today, even though they're not wearing robes, they still do it as a sign and pour with that. You make eye contact, you cheers together, you drink together. So yeah, soju culture is a lot more fun, I think, than Western culture, where it's, you know, it can be kind of lonely, where you just go to a bar and drink by yourself, where I feel like this is more interactive. Yeah, there's tons of games, and it depends on the brand of soju. Some soju brands have different caps where you twist them up. And there's a flicking game. Yeah, there's, you know, games surrounded by the idea of it's called one shot, where like, you know, like the loser has to take one whole shot. There's what they call somek. In Korean, beer is called mekju. And it's dropping, kind of like a Boilermaker, dropping it in there. So we make two different SKUs. We make a 80 proof, and we make a 23% alcohol. The 23% alcohol is kind of how you would drink all the normal green bottle sojus, I guess. It's usually consumed over Korean food, and either room temperature or slightly chilled, and usually just neat, like poured into a soju chan, or like kind of like a little shot glass. Our 80 proof, I like neat as well. I think it's really clean because our spirits are totally organic, and I'm really particular what we keep off the still. I think it's smooth on its own, but it's also really good in cocktails. So there's lots of places like Momofuku, Oiji that do cocktails with our 80 proof. So yeah, I guess it depends which varietal. And then every year we do a special release that's more of like an aperitif, highlighting a different Korean ingredient. I think there's a time and a place for green bottle soju, and I don't want to like shit all over it, but that it's just not that tier. So, you know, like sakes in the US, you have everything from like a cooking sake to like a shitty one you drink at karaoke to like a really high tier one that you drink with like omakase menu, you know, and you have everything in between. Where soju, we just have the green bottle, but I don't want Americans, when they're getting introduced to it, to just think that's the only option, because soju can operate on the same level of respect as anything else and can be done really well. Yeah, I think I just gave you the whole life story.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, man, that was awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, dude.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome.